All right, can California be saved? Let's check it out.
No.
All right, welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. We have live pictures for you of the L.A. basin. Camera put up right behind the Hollywood sign. That is a city screaming to be saved below as a reality TV star has become the face of a California revolution. All the energy tonight on this primary day is with the conservatives in California, a mission to take back what was once the crown jewel of this country, our most beautiful state that has been utterly destroyed by leftism. Spencer Pratt for mayor of L.A., Steve Hilton for governor of California. Today is primary day. The top two in each race will advance to November, regardless of the party. It looks like both Hilton and Pratt should be sailing through to November today. Spencer Pratt is hoping to take the entire election today, which is only possible if he can claim more than 50% of the vote. He says there's a good chance that he can. He's feeling very confident. Nobody knows what the internal polling says. Take a listen to both Pratt and Hilton's final message, though, to downtrodden, forgotten, common-sense Californians who have been tortured by single-party rule for far too long.
We've had 16 years now of Democrats running everything in California, and the results are just pretty disappointing. Everywhere you look, there's this sense that things aren't working, and it's time for change.
I believe I'm winning tomorrow night outright. I think there's a tsunami of votes coming from all the people that are done with politics as usual. They want an outsider. They want a disruptor.
Yes, they do. Spencer Pratt looking to save Los Angeles, which has been decimated by Democrats, held to no account by the electorate for far too long, governing on their worst impulses, the Democrat Party has been. Downtown L.A. is the epicenter of what Pratt calls the zombie apocalypse. Endless homeless encampments is what they call them, homeless encampments, which is what Democrats call allowing thousands and tens of thousands of drug addicts to just get high right on the streets and camp in a nice warm town right where they want to be while destroying the quality of life for everybody else that pays for that city. It is surreal what Democrat voters are willing to accept, the decimation of their own quality of life, and continue supporting politically. It is unbelievable to watch these people act like this isn't happening. Take a look at this video from PETA from Skid Row. You notice all of the, quote, homeless people, they all have dogs now. And here's a hard truth that the libs will never accept. Most of these people that they have such sympathy for, they're not homeless. They're just drug addicts. They're crackheads, people that have destroyed their lives through their addiction. And the reason they suddenly all have dogs is they need live animals to test for a new deadly phenomenon, which is fatal amounts of fentanyl in their drugs, something we didn't have to worry about 10 years ago. If the pooch survives the initial injection, then the batch is safe to inject. And that's why suddenly all of the homeless people in L.A. and other places have so many animals. That's who they're protecting. That's what life looks like on the streets of a once great palm tree-lined, wealthy city. L.A. was incredible in its heyday. Not any longer. And despite what we just showed you, only 57% of Californians are willing to admit that the state is moving in the wrong direction. That number should be 99%, and it's at 57%. Think that the state is moving in the wrong. There's 43% of people that think everything's great. It is literal proof that leftism is a mental disorder. Los Angeles has been decimated over the last 4 years, even further under communist sympathizer Karen Bass, who's running now on a ridiculous declaration that she's fixing the homeless disaster.
My final message to voters is, in the last few years, we brought down homelessness for the first time, 2 years in a row. 42,000 units of housing, crime rates down to 60 years low.
Yeah! How is she able to make this ridiculous claim? Well, because she spent nearly $400 million to make a very meager reduction in, again, homelessness, drug addicts on the street. And that reduction is not permanent. She's just lighting money on fire. The drug-addicted zombies she's placing in temporary housing are already returning to the streets at a remarkable clip because they don't want to be told what to do. And you can't just do fentanyl and heroin and all this crazy nonsense inside of a legitimate facility. So it's a short-term gimmick to have something to campaign on and just blowing through $400 million. If Bass remains the mayor, Los Angeles will continue its demise, its collapse. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. There's zero energy behind that woman, Karen Bass. No energy at all. Just a massive, fortified apparatus that sadly is nearly impossible to beat, just like you see in every socialist country. All they do is consolidate their power, fortify their entrances so nobody can get in there and take them out. Despite Spencer Pratt out fundraising Karen Bass by 10 to 1, it'll still take a miracle to get that woman out of the mayor's mansion. And tonight is honestly probably Pratt's best shot. He has all the momentum right now. Everything is moving his direction. Common sense Hollywood even has his back. Some risking their careers to try and save the city that they love, like Doug Ellin, the creator of Entourage. Of course, the classic Los Angeles show from the early 2000s that romanticized life in LA so perfectly. Doug Ellin going on an epic rant on social media. Enjoy.
The LA Times gaslighters. It's weird. One of 15 cameras that I now have at this house. 2 German Shepherds, 3 legal guns. 5 years ago, didn't lock a door here, but you know what happened? 2 animals invaded my house. Invaders of homes should get 20 years. But I'm not paranoid, so I don't believe your about the stats and the crime, because everyone in my neighborhood has got the same problem. They're all putting cameras and hiring security guards because we're all getting broken into. It's not made up. It's not false. We want to fix this place because we don't want to be forced out. I'm one of the people who made this city look great. I did it for years. I glorified it. I meet people all the time that moved here because the show that I created, and they hate it here now.
It's crazy to hear it just from some, I mean, the security he's had to put in place, the robberies, the drugs, the violence. I mean, the drugstores all locked up, everything that has just destroyed that city. The quality of life has been decimated. A once amazing place to live. I lived there 15 years ago and it was on its way down, but it was still amazing. What they have done to Los Angeles, what they have done to California. John Huddy is in West LA tonight, right outside the Spencer Pratt watch party. A lot of people hoping for a miracle, John.
Yeah, at this point, Rob, we're outside Don Antonio's Mexican restaurant along Pico Boulevard, as he mentioned, in West LA. Pratt isn't here. He's expected to come a little bit later, so basically media crews are getting set up. But, you know, you were talking about the homeless issue, the drug issue, the homeless encampments. We spent all day in the Skid Row area of downtown LA yesterday talking to people, including a homeless guy who literally sparked up. He lit up a crack pipe before our interview talking about the homeless issue, not only just in the downtown area, but throughout Los Angeles. And that's really been the focus of Pratt's message, that the drug addiction problem, violent crime, and people's raw feelings left over from the Palisades fire. And that's really, in essence, why his campaign has had such traction and success to this point. But the question is, will that message resonate enough among voters, among Angelenos, going into this evening when the polls close, enough to get him elected mayor, or at the very minimum, Rob, to get his name on the ballot for a November runoff election? We'll soon find out. Back to you.
Talking to crackheads that are smoking crack as they're doing the interview. I don't know this. I mean, that should be a campaign ad for Spencer Pratt in itself. John Huddy, we appreciate you in West LA on a beautiful day. Hopefully it's a good day, too. Thanks, John. Political analyst Katie Zacharia joins us now. Abel Maldonado, former lieutenant governor of the state of California. Good to have my 2 California people back with us tonight. Katie, we just heard from Doug Ellin. I thought that was an incredible rant that he went on. It also takes a lot of guts to be a Hollywood director and to come out that strongly for somebody that is tethered to Trump, as they've tried to make him sound. But he's not a Trumper. He's not MAGA. That's just a normal, common sense, moderate voter in California, something of which there are too few of. But this is a big moment for normal Californians tonight, isn't it, Katie?
It's a big moment, and one thing needs to be mentioned is a lot of these Hollywood celebrities who backed Kamala Harris and backed the Democrat Garcetti and all of the failed politicians, Gavin Newsom, they're responsible for their homes being broken into. Nothing is a surprise to most of us. They ran on soft on crime policies. Karen Bass, in her whole monologue, was saying that she is responsible for the drop in crime. I'm sorry, President Trump has overseen the 126-year low in crime because he is not soft on crime and he's going after it. So Karen Bass is taking credit for President Trump's effective policies and trying to run her city on his effective policies. You know, he had ICE surges, he had the National Guard come in to try to take control of her city. And Los Angeles needs to remember who did that, and it's not Karen Bass.
Yeah. And Abel, you know, the craziest thing to think is that what's really happening in the state of California is that they're asking everybody to accept a crappy place to live and a terrible quality of life so that they don't offend, in LA, 40,000 or so drug addicts who are testing their fentanyl on dogs to make sure that they survive. We're all just cowering so that those people don't get offended.
Exactly. It's what's happening. And you have Tom Steyer come out to his closing message is get on the D train. So get on the Democrat train of all this that we're happening. We get up in the morning in Los Angeles, Rob, as we drive, you hope your car wasn't broken into at night. Right. You get in your car, you're paying $7 gas. You drive through a guy smoking crack doing an interview on a TV. And then they get to homeless shelters and you got all the tents out there, Rob. And if this is not a change election, my God, I don't know what else can be a change election. You have an opportunity with Spencer Pratt. It's his time. He's got the common sense. And I tell Angelenos every day, what do you got to lose? Share with me. I mean, California's got a world-class weather with the worst government.
And you're right, Abel. I mean, you can only make California so bad politically. Like you can only get so bad when it's such an incredible place that has so much inherent wealth and business. And they've taken it about as low as it gets. So if this isn't the moment, then get ready. They're never going to lose. If they don't lose in this one, it's hard to imagine they ever will. Katie, the LA Times reporting the vote count for California governor and LA mayor could be painfully slow. Just kind of getting everybody ready for what, another week or two of counting?
Exactly. In California, with our universal mail-in ballot system and the fact that it is absolutely, in my opinion, until voter ID occurs in California, which we have on the November ballot, we're going to see this slow roll. It's what we saw with Rick Caruso in the last election against Mayor Bass. He came in within striking distance, although that was in the general election. He came in within striking distance, and then months later, we finally got the results. So we need to get rid of these mail-in ballots. This should be alongside the Save America Act nationwide, Rob.
It's so absurd the way we do elections. My buddy out there is telling me he's been looking at ballots flying around for the last couple weeks. I mean, there's just ballots all over Hell's Half Acre. Does anybody feel like that's a secure election? Does anybody believe that this is legitimate? I can't fathom that they do, and we're the only country that does it in this ridiculous manner and then also doesn't ID anybody either. Abel, talk about the mechanisms that the Democrat Party in California and Los Angeles as well have put in place to consolidate power and make sure that they're perpetually in control of the state. What makes it so hard for them to lose?
Well, the first thing they did, Rob, was they went over to every county and city and they passed a law in Sacramento that prohibits a local city and a local county from asking for ID to vote. I could walk in today and give you my name without an ID and vote. I can go to another poll booth and not give a name and vote, give a fake address and vote. It's California. No one says anything. It's what we have. That's why we need voter ID. That's a simple one, Rob. But if you can't get simple things passed, imagine the big stuff in this great state of ours. Something has to change, and we're crossing our fingers that Spencer Pratt tonight turns LA around, and hopefully we get Steve Hilton in there and move the state forward.
Katie,
Rob, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Abel, trust me, I hear you. And just tell me real quick before I let you guys go, Katie, I mean, when you talk to people, and you're not talking to people that are MAGA, you're not talking to conservatives, what are you feeling from people? I can't imagine there's any energy behind Karen Bass.
There's no energy behind Karen Bass. Who she's going to appeal to are the same old establishment Democrats that only do the party line voting, right? Yep. And they're either going to vote for Ramon or her. But I want to give that little narrative right there. I went out and voted today, and they won't let me show them my ID. I tried to show them my ID. They won't let me. And they said I wasn't registered. They said I wasn't registered. I had changed my address. Maybe I'd moved. I said I've never moved. I've been voted in every single election. Yeah. So they had to call, and I had to wait there for an hour, Rob. I'm a legal American citizen, have voted in every election, and I had to fight to vote today. And I can tell you, they probably watched my conservative commentary, and they're like, no voting, no voting for this one.
You can go away. Yeah, right. Katie, good to see you.
If you're a drug addict, Rob, if you're a drug addict and you got your puppy outside, you can go in and vote, no problem.
Yeah. The guy smoking the crack pipe while talking to John Huddy. I cannot wait to see that video. Abel, Katie, good to see you both. Thanks so much. Coming up, Marco Rubio shuts down a senator who claims the U.S. is begging Iran for a deal.
We're begging to get back into a deal that you all trashed in the first place.
There's no one begging.
And then later in news from the left, Dr. Jill Biden finally admits it.
I'm not a doctor.
It takes a second, an accident, a diagnosis, when everything changes. If something does happen, would your family be protected? Now, Crown Atlantic has made getting life insurance fast, simple, and with the best rates. Go online to get your free instant quote. It takes just minutes, and you'll find the best deals available. Don't wait until tomorrow. Your life is too important. Act today to protect you and your family.
We've been building chainsaws for over 100 years. Now, that century of cutting comes in a mower. New blade, same bloodline. Right now, save $50 on select mowers. Steel.
Mike Hammond of Signal Relief. We've helped nearly 700,000 feel relief in their back, shoulders, and knees with our technology. But for many of us, it's our feet that hurt. And when they hurt, our walks get shorter, activities are skipped, and the moments we love start slipping away. That's why we created the Signal Step, a patent-pending insole built using the same proven technology people already trust from Signal Relief. Signal uses no drugs. There's nothing on the market like it. It's relief without the side effects. It's reusable, fits virtually into any shoe, and in a recent study, over 85% felt relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Feel relief with every step. If you're hurting, go to signalstep.com and get relief today.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. It helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya. Tremfya can help with remission at 12 weeks, 1 year, and 2 years. Some had visible repair of their intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Break away with Tremfya. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
Our foreign policy is one that's solely focused on the national interest of the United States of America. We remain the world's sole global superpower. The United States government is not a charity. We are not here to play social worker. We are here to win.
All right, the Secretary of State today, Marco Rubio, testifying in front of his former colleagues in the Senate earlier on Capitol Hill, flexing American dominance, updating also the Senate on Iran.
We are in talks, and I say talks because talks with Iran are not like talks with Switzerland, okay? They're very different. There is the prospect before us, which could happen today, it could happen tomorrow, it could happen next week, that for the first time, certainly in my memory, they have agreed to negotiate aspects of their nuclear program that just a month ago, just a year ago, they were refusing to even mention, much less enter into discussions about. Complicating that process, unfortunately, is their internal regime is somewhat fractured in the sense of it takes days to get responses from their system.
Okay, so that's the update right there. CENTCOM releasing Video earlier showing U.S. forces disabling an oil tanker that was attempting to sail toward an Iranian port in the Arabian Gulf. So the blockade is still on, right? The president updating on Truth Social saying there are fake news reports that the conversation has stopped speaking a few days ago. They're false and erroneous. Conversations between us have been going on continuously. Democrat Senator Cory Booker claims that the United States is begging Iran to negotiate. Rubio saying this back.
We're begging to get back into a deal that you all
We're not
trashed
begging.
in the first place.
There's no one begging. No one's begging for anything here. The Iranians might be begging because their economy's losing hundreds of millions of dollars a day. They have hyperinflation. Their currency's completely devalued. They're struggling to make payroll for their government workers. I don't know where you're getting this perception that Iran is stronger. Iran has no navy left. They've lost a substantial percentage of their defense industrial base. That Iran has lost a substantial percentage of their missile launchers. And their economy is far worse today, and I mean far worse today, than it was 6 to 9 months ago.
Yeah, the only reason people think that Iran is doing well in this war is because it's a Democrat talking point, and they're hoping to use this to win in the midterms. Pretty simple, right? Brent Sadler, a retired U.S. Navy captain, Colonel Mike Jernigan, Marine veteran and visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Good to have you both here. Brent, want to start with just a little bit of breaking news. Kuwait's army announcing just this evening that their air defenses are once again fighting off incoming missile and drone attack that's going to be coming from Iran. Your reaction to that and where you think we're at in this war and in this negotiation?
Yeah, I think the Iranians, I mean, the main thing is to try to buy for time and to complicate the calculation in D.C. I mean, these attacks on Kuwait, targeting U.S. bases ostensibly, is to try to show D.C. that, hey, that they have other leverage than the Strait of Hormuz, and, continuing to enter into negotiations, which will give them the time to rebuild and to distract, so they can, come back maybe in another administration further down the road. That's really the goal here. And I think I would put it in that context. Again, the main thing is keep the pressure on the blockade, going after the forces in the Straits of Hormuz that are threatening shipping to take away whatever leverage this regime has there.
Colonel Jernigan, Rubio was defiant today, but I do think it's fair to say that a lot of people are thinking the same thing, that it feels a bit ridiculous to consider that we're still negotiating with Iran, when they're very clearly just seems to be just dragging this out at this point. Are we really negotiating, or are we waiting for something? What do you think is happening?
I think what the secretary said is right, that there are conversations and there are discussions going on. They may not yet be negotiations. The Iranians have a fractured government. Inside, who's running the government and who can control the military and who can actually, agree and enforce an agreement. The Iranians right now are kind of negotiating in bad faith, in my opinion. They're trying to talk out of both sides of their mouth and saying, all of these things we want, the U.S. to be gone, for us to be able to control the Straits of Hormuz, for us to be able to continue to support Hezbollah and Hamas, all of those things we're not going to talk about or give up. And we want all those things first, but we don't want to talk about, giving up our nuclear weapon capability until later in the end. So I think they're trying to do what the North Koreans worked for, is that in 1951, there was a ceasefire and it became an armistice in 1953. And now, the Iranians are happy because there's no bombs and there's no problems right now, according to some of them.
Yeah.
It's coincidental to me that the internet came on and last week they were saying, let's bring back the Death to America chants.
Yeah, right. Brent, we had Blaine Hold on last night. He had a very interesting perspective on this. I want to get both of your reactions to it. He says that there's a lot that's happening behind the scenes that we're not hearing about. He says the administration is putting a lot of pieces in place potentially for some kind of a checkmate move against this regime and to expect potentially something that looks like Venezuela in the end. What do you make of that prediction?
So the Venezuela model is not a surprise. And again, it goes back to sustaining leverage so that whatever regime is there in Tehran, you can actually compel it and have guardrails as how far they're going to go, so you can make sure that Tehran's not going to be a threat to American lives or our interest in the region. So Karg Island stands out as one of those chess pieces to hold at risk, which is largely their economy. Yeah. The future of their energy exports. The other part of this is going after and finishing the attacks against the IRGC forces, the maritime forces and missile forces that are still being a threat to shipping in the Straits of Hormuz. You take that away, the regime has no more negotiating leverage, and they're dead in the water.
Colonel Jernigan, the same question to you. I mean, you have the president saying he's getting bored with the negotiations here, talking to Iran. It feels like something else is going on. To me, I don't know why. Your response?
I agree. I think the president is using rhetoric to shape the battlefield and to shape the political spectrum, as it were. And so I think you're spot on that here in a little bit, we'll probably see something that surprises us. Meanwhile, the Iranians are showing that they are not negotiating in good faith, as I mentioned earlier, because, yesterday they struck a Panamanian ship with a cruise missile. And then, as I reported in the Iranian media today, they're calling it an Israeli-American ship. And, that's like shooting a big lumbering cow with a high-powered rifle and then bragging to your neighbors that you're protecting your property.
Yeah, I think you had a good point there, that something that might surprise us might be coming. That's how it kind of feels to me, too. Something just feels strange about this moment and how they're speaking about it. Colonel, thanks so much. Brent Sadler, good to see you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. For years, Democrats have tried to get as many people on Obamacare as they possibly could. They love getting you on the dole. Wait until you hear the staggering amounts of fraud being alleged from that program.
5-6 million people we could be paying premiums for because they don't have to contribute anything. So they don't even know they're getting it.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
My dad has never been in better shape. He had a stroke and passed away. He had a life insurance policy. Ethos.com. In 10 minutes, you can be covered with life insurance.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at ShadyRays.com.
Your mouthwash routine just got a whole lot smarter. Use SmartMouth Activated Morning Mouthwash with B12 for all-day bad breath prevention, guaranteed. If your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not SmartMouth. Kickstart your morning. Get SmartMouth Activated Mouthwash with B12.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Is it just the mustache? No. It's the way he brings me a fresh cup of Black Rifle coffee.
Honey, you having a Riley Green dream again?
Just give me 5 more minutes.
Okay.
All right, welcome back. As the outrageous levels of fraud in this country come into focus, a bombshell report from the Paragon Health Institute, which is a health policy watchdog, estimating more than 6 million Obamacare enrollees are potentially fraudulent, not eligible for benefits. They're called phantom enrollees. That figure represents over a quarter of all of the Obamacare recipients. Remember, Democrats can't wait to get as many people on Obamacare as they possibly can. Well, about 25% of it appears are fraudulent. They're stealing $25 billion from all of us. Welcome to your government. The report reveals Florida and Texas have 63% of all of these alleged improper enrollments. The head of the Paragon Health Institute telling the Washington Post the problem is more severe in states that did not expand Medicaid because in those states there's incentives to overestimate income and claim a subsidy. Dr. Oz addressing this today as he handled the White House press briefing.
We believe that 35%, roughly, of the people that are using the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare exchanges, because they've never used the program once, they've never filed a claim, may not be legit. 5-6 million people we could be paying premiums for because they don't have to contribute anything. So they don't even know they're getting it. They're in 2 states at once getting full insurance paid for by us.
It's so infuriating. And Senator Dave McCormick, Pennsylvania, joins us now to talk about it. Isn't that the way it usually works? They create a government program. They try to get as many people on it as possible. They don't like looking for fraud because they don't want to find it. And we're left with the bill.
Hey, Rob, good to see you. Yeah, this is absolutely, as you say, a bombshell, but it's not a surprise. I think what we've seen over and over again is that the Democrats have expanded these programs dramatically. They're growing faster. Medicaid and SNAP are going faster than any other entitlement program. And there's enormous fraud. By most estimates, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud. I think the effort that J.D. Vance is leading is going to hopefully get to the bottom of this in all states. You've seen double-digit growth in Medicaid, and we tried to make the simplest reforms in the Working Families Tax Cut Act, and the Democrats resisted it and misrepresented it every step of the way. Most basic reforms. And so this has become a slush fund for many of the Democrat priorities, and we've got to rein it in.
Why, explain exactly why you believe that they are so inherently against any kind of fraud, reform, any kind of watchdog over all of this money that they demand we give them.
Well, I think the money has largely gone to groups or individuals that have been supportive of the Democratic agenda. Let me just give you a small example. In the Medicaid reforms that we were seeking to do in the Working Families Tax Cut and eventually did, the essentially only thing we did is we slowed the rate of growth in Medicaid from projected 6% a year to 3% a year. And we said the most basic thing. We need to have a work requirement, 80 hours a month, not a week. If you can't find a job, you can do volunteer work, you can do education. And yet the Democrats resisted this every step of the way and then misrepresented what the bill actually did. And the mainstream media picked it up. And so when I go back to Pennsylvania, people are describing what it did to me in ways that are completely inaccurate. The Democrats resist because it benefits them, and it's a huge waste of taxpayer dollars.
It's billions every time we turn around. It's another program, and it's billions of our dollars. And all we hear is pay your fair share, give us more money, make the government bigger. Daily Wire exposing yet another massive fraud scandal. This is in your neighboring state of Ohio. Refugees from the small country of Bhutan. I don't think I've ever met anybody from Bhutan. There's not many of these people in the country. They've been billing the government from their Medicaid firms. It's all connected to this same group of, just like the Somalis in Minnesota, it's Bhutan in Ohio. This community, Senator, has allegedly received $350 million through this fraud. That's a tenth of their home country's GDP. My question for you is, as we see this, is there something going on with NGOs? How are these people coming in here and all figuring this out together and creating like a coalition of the same group of refugees that are all stealing in the same way from the government? It feels coordinated to me.
Well, first of all, this is all, we should not lose sight of the fact, this is all cleanup. From years of wide open borders. It's all cleanup from years of terrible oversight and really expanding these programs. And now we're just beginning to get our hands around the scope and the scale of the fraud and bringing scrutiny to this. Listen, we as Republicans, and certainly I have said this again and again, we want to make sure that these programs protect the most vulnerable among us who they're designed for. But what's happening right now is the spending is so out of control, it's jeopardizing the very purpose that they were designed for in the first place because of this excessive fraud and the misuse of taxpayer dollars in pursuit of personal gain and fraud. And this is what we're going to get to the bottom of. And I applaud the president and the vice president for finally putting the focus on this. Dr. Oz is doing a great job on this. I bet we'll find evidence of this in every single state, and I'm going to do everything I can to support it.
Senator, we appreciate you coming on. Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Graham-Platner meltdown continues as the Senate hopeful meets with Democrats in D.C. Rumors now that sexual assault allegations could be coming next.
When you're in the news business, it never stops. News is always breaking, and it's my job to get you the news, no spin, no BS. If you don't believe us, just watch us.
Watch Finnerty, weeknights, only on Newsmax.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's high absorption magnesium glycinate helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
When we started Allegiance, we were shocked to learn how many American flags are actually made overseas.
If there's one thing that deserves to be made here in America, it should start with the American flag.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
Join our pledge to make the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
Sir, he's here to see you.
So, are you ready to join forces? PCMag provides complete protection for your computer and smartphone against malware and ransomware, and it's 100% American-made and supported security.
Today, Cyberman and his unknown partner delivered a massive victory, protecting homes, businesses, and federal devices from ransomware.
Get protected now at PCMagic.com.
Protect your family. Buy LifeVac now.
Thank you, Daddy.
That was us over 10 years ago from LifeVac's first commercial in our living room.
Now LifeVac has saved 5,000 lives all over the world. All these people were saved by LifeVac.
Thousands of people choke to death every year, one child every 5 days.
These tragedies don't have to happen. LifeVac is the only FDA-authorized anti-choking device. Please consider protecting yourself, your family, your community. Go to LifeVac.com today.
Thanks, Dad.
This little light of mine, in the dark found a hopeful sign.
For those with depression not getting enough relief from their antidepressant, adding Caplyta can help you let in the light, providing greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. And unlike some medications, Caplyta is also proven to deliver significant symptom relief from both bipolar 1 and 2 depression.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
All right, welcome back. Democrats in D.C. meeting with their Nazi-tattooed Senate candidate Graham Platner earlier today. Platner surrounded in controversies, trying to weather this storm. The latest, he's reportedly been sexting, at least sexting, with several different women that aren't his wife just a couple years into a brand new marriage. That doesn't play well with the party that does the best with women. Platner also has an account on an app known by many to be Predator's Paradise. It's called Kick. Maybe your kids or your grandkids have it. It's mostly used by little kids. And then there's that picture of Graham Platner on there. Why? I don't even want to think about it. Somehow the people who are offended by literally everything, though, are not offended by really any of this. Take a listen.
I met with Graham Platner today. We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate.
You're standing behind Graham Platner, to be clear here?
We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. Any other subject you got? Any other subject? As I said, I endorsed Graham Platner. We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate.
Please just remember this when they're, again, perpetually offended by every little tweet that comes from the president and any other nonsense. That's Jewish Chuck Schumer supporting the Nazi tattoo guy right there on camera. You can't make it up. And it's not just Schumer. The entire Democrat Party seems to be sticking with him, at least for now. There have been some fractures. There's been some people that are definitely turned off that aren't going to support him, but they're trying to coalesce around him. That was what this whole tour of Washington today was all about. Semaphore reporting. Democrats are preparing for Platner to stick around until November, even as they also discuss much more quietly the likelihood of still more damaging stories about their main Senate candidate's past to come out. How much worse could this get? You've got the rape comments. You've got the racism, which should be a big deal for the Democrat Party. They always talk about race. You got the cheating on the wife. You've got how many different things? The kick thing. All of that, let's add a little bit more onto the pile. Take a listen to this allegation.
The allegations that are coming, the rumor is there are allegations of sexual assault, more than one, going back to his time at a elite private school where he was pushed out the door. Several people who were classmates have come forward already and said they know about it. And the women have not yet started speaking. The Democrats know they're out there. It has come up in the research.
Oh, that could make it interesting. Also, an elite private school. From the guy that paints himself as an oyster farmer, Marine veteran populist who hates billionaires, pushing single-payer health care. His entire identity is manufactured. You got a fake oyster farmer who makes oysters or gets oysters for his mom, privately educated, got a free house from his dad. Just, again, the array of hypocrisy in this candidate, and then all the scandals as well. Rick Santorum is our senior political analyst. Also, former U.S. Senator from the state of Pennsylvania. He's here with us on the set. Rick, good to see you.
Good to be here.
The Platner moment is just amazing.
Yeah, I always, when I see these types of things, you get, as a Republican, you say, okay, well, this is great. I mean, this keeps piling on. But don't discount the fact that the Democrats, if this continues to pile on and this actually hurts him, now he'll probably win his primary. A lot of early voting already.
It's a week away.
It's a week away. He's probably going to win the primary. But Democrats have done this multiple times, which is they just yank him off the ballot. And, you know, they convince him he can't win.
They've got time for that, right?
And they've got time. They can put him on. Usually they have until 2 or 3 months before the election.
They said July.
To take him off the ballot. And so if this continues, if people start coming out and saying there's sexual abuse and all that kind of stuff,
and then they just put whoever they want on?
It's no problem for them. They routinely do this. They'll just take him off and put
just like they did with Joe Biden. They'll just put whoever they want on?
They've done it. They obviously did it with Kamala Harris. They did it with Bob Torricelli. You remember in New Jersey years ago, and put Frank Lautenberg in. They do it routinely. Yeah. And I think he's probably a pretty good candidate for a candidate replacement.
Yeah. Although he's extremely popular with the people. I mean, when he talks, I mean, he's got a way of getting people in that state to listen to him, and they do like him up there. Janet Mills, the governor, is quietly reminding people that she's still on the ballot. So what do you, is that anything?
Again, we'll see what happens between now and then. Yeah. But remember, a lot of folks have already cast their ballots up there, and my guess is he's going to win, at least the primary, but that doesn't mean he's going to stick.
No, he's going to stick, because the last thing they want is for him to lose in November to Susan Collins.
That's a seat they've been targeting, since as long as Susan Collins has been there.
They see that very vulnerable, and it is. She's not a very exciting person to vote for, and she's just a very moderate, Maine senator, and it seems like
she fits the state very well. She does. I mean, she is 100% Maine, and she is she's not a Trumper, she's not a, she's her own person, and people in that state, there's a big independent streak up there, and obviously one of the senators is an independent. So I'm betting on Susan Collins.
Okay. All right. You're betting on Susan Collins. Real quick before I let you go, primary night. Obviously, there's Iowa, New Jersey. There's nothing as interesting as California tonight, though. What do you think we see tonight in California?
I think you're going to see a close race where the Republicans are in it. You won't have a decision tonight. I mean, there's even if the Republican has a strong lead, you're not going to the mail-in ballots are going to take days to come in. But the interesting thing is we're making a big deal of the Republicans getting to the general election. Think about this.
I know. That's how sad it is.
Whoa, this is so bad that if a Republican just makes it to the end, finishes in the top two, it just tells you how overwhelmingly the Democrat has controlled things. And you heard Gavin Newsom say that if somehow or another a Republican makes it on, we have a way of fixing that.
Right.
Again, Democrats hate anybody who fights against them. They hate dissent. That's why they try to silence people who disagree with them.
They spend all their time consolidating their power.
Exactly.
That's
all
what
about
they do.
power.
And California is the best example of that we've probably seen in this country.
Amen.
Yeah. All right. Rick Santorum, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it. All right. Let's go to Lydia Serrani at our elections desk, watching all of those primary races tonight. Lydia, how's it look?
Well, as you mentioned, Platner's race is exactly 1 week from tonight. And again, though, all eyes on California tonight, right? Let's look at some of the latest polling right there. You've got incumbent Karen Bass there, Spencer Pratt, Andrew Kim, and we saw some polls where it's really, really close. So we'll see what happens there. As for the California governor's race, we've seen some Kalshi betting odds have Becerra and Hilton facing off in the general. So we shall see what will happen there. Let's go now to Iowa, right? Let's go to Iowa, where polls close in about an hour. The U.S. Senate race to fill retiring incumbent Joni Ernst's seat. Republican and Trump-endorsed Congresswoman Ashley Hinson is up against former state Senator Jim Carlin. So we'll see what happens there. And also in Iowa on the Democrat side, State Representative Josh Turek and State Senator Zach Walz. The Iowa Senate race expected to be one of the most competitive. Staying in Iowa again, the primary for governor. Trump is backing U.S. Representative Randy Feenstra, calling him, quote, a highly respected American first congressman. Feenstra is a frontrunner in this race against businessman Adam Steen and private school founder Zach Lon. And then to New Jersey, let's go right there, where polls, they're closing in about 15 minutes. Trump is backing incumbent Republican Tom Keene. He calls him a great representative, but the 7th District congressman, he's running unopposed in the primary, but we haven't seen him. He hasn't been voting, Rob, because of a medical issue. So as you and the senator were discussing, we will be up all night probably when it comes to California because of all the voting rules and everything like that. So we shall see. We're also tracking races in Montana, New Mexico, and South Dakota. So keep it right here.
California is the big, interesting one tonight, but there's a lot of other states doing primaries as well. Lydia, good to see you. Thanks so much. All right, up next, a Mamdani-backed congressional candidate about as crazy as they come, trying to hide her total psychosis.
The road to greatness is long, but greatness isn't just forged from within. It has to be proven on the greatest stage of all.
The hype is real! This is the moment we have all been waiting for.
Mike Hammond of Signal Relief. We've helped nearly 700,000 feel relief in their back, shoulders, and knees with our technology. But for many of us, it's our feet that hurt. And when they hurt, our walks get shorter, activities are skipped, and the moments we love start slipping away. That's why we created the Signal Step, a patent-pending insole built using the same proven technology people already trust from Signal Relief. Signal uses no drugs. There's nothing on the market like it. It's relief without the side effects. It's reusable, fits virtually into any shoe, and in a recent study, over 85% felt relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Feel relief with every step. If you're hurting, go to signalstep.com and get relief today.
What if losing a pair of sunglasses was actually fine? That's why we built Shady Rays. Every pair of Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection, but no matter what happens, whether you drop them in the lake, a wave gets them, they're covered with lost and broken protection.
My heart has experienced life-changing wins, losses, and countless miles. To keep living at my speed, I trust Cunol CoQ10. CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for heart health. Cunol, the brand I trust.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
The pain is gone. It's gone. I was wheeled in. I couldn't even move 5 feet without the wheelchair. I was in awful pain.
Are you able to get onto the bed?
I doubt it.
No?
We went through the whole intake interview, did the MRI, x-rays. I was awake through the surgery, came back to recovery. I was there for 10 minutes, and I got up and I walked.
Venati succeeds where others fail.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Dr. Jill Biden continuing her book tour and making a pretty good faux pas for a woman who has demanded that she be called doctor for decades.
He'd given so much of himself, and to see you even saying, like, I thought he was having a medical episode, I was concerned. Was there any part of you that went into protection mode of like, Joe, you can't keep doing this. Like, they're taking so much from you.
But the doctors told me he was fine. I'm not a doctor. I mean, I am a doctor.
Yes, you are a doctor.
She's got a doctorate in education, by the way, but she does demand to be called doctor. She gets on The View and says, I'm not a doctor. Come on, doctor, you should be smarter than that. Next up, New York congressional hopeful Daria-Liza Avila Chevalier, a socialist candidate backed by Zoran Mamdani. How about that pronunciation, by the way? Running for New York's 13th congressional district primary, is deleting her posts from X, trying to hide just how crazy she really is as she tries to win this state seat. During COVID, this woman reposted a message calling for the nationalizing utilities, hospitals, and pharmaceutical companies, the government takeover of those, I should say, suspending rent and mortgage payments, dissolving private health insurance companies, and seizing all properties from landlords. During the height of the George Floyd riots, Chevalier replied to a post where the user asked the movement for a better slogan than defund the police. Her response was, F you. We're going to defund and abolish. You don't get to water down our movements. Oh, okay. 2021, Chevalier went on a pro-illegal immigration social media bender, saying, a world without borders, just like a world without prisons or police, is possible, necessary, and the only moral way forward, declaring we should abolish the border and that all deportations are wrong. This idiot wants to get into politics now. She believes in no borders, no police, no prisons. I'd like to see what her neighborhood would look like after about 2 weeks of implementation of those policies. She probably would be running for her life. Next up, a Nantucket church canceling its 4th of July readings for the first time in 25 years. Now, this is a church in Nantucket. In protest of the Supreme Court Voting Rights Act ruling that ended race-based gerrymandering, A reverend there at the church announcing the cancellation, blaming the Supreme Court and an ongoing process within the congregation to better understand their own whiteness and how they can be part of changing an inherently unfair system which has been in place for 250 years, adding a celebration without context and the centering of the fullness of the American story only perpetuates the harm, injustice, and anti-democratic process. I'm trying to remember if it was Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, but they're right next to each other. Was the island where they said, was that where they sent the illegals up there by plane? And they, that was Martha's Vineyard. And they said, we love you so much, but get the hell off of our island. Nantucket, it's the same thing. It's where all the Boston, New England people go to party in the summer. Right. And finally, Finnerty would know. That's his territory up there. And finally, billionaire Tom Steyer desperately trying to stay in the race with one of the weirdest videos possible.
I'm Tom Steyer, and I'm about to ride the D.
Well, it is Pride Month, I guess, and Tom Steyer says he's about to ride the D. He's willing to tax himself to death to be accepted by everyone else and try to be a politician. Maybe he'd do that too. You never really know with these politicians these days. What a weird robot he is. All right, will California be saved? We've got a big night of election coverage. It is a big night, and that's up next.
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Pain and Inflammation Relief Roll-On.
Your muscle and joint inflammation is real. Here's what real customers are saying about MagnaLife Pain and Inflammation Relief Roll-On. It worked great.
Available at your local retailer.
We've been building chainsaws for over 100 years. Now that century of cutting comes in a mower. New blade, same bloodline. Right now, save $50 on select mowers. Steel.
If you want to be ready for summer, now's the time to call Sonobello. Sonobello helped me target the spots that diet and exercise never could.
Sonobello gave me my bikini body back.
At Sonobello, our expert surgeons remove stubborn fat permanently and tighten loose skin in one visit with less downtime. Every treatment plan is personalized for your body, your goals, and the results that you want to achieve.
Walking around this summer with my shirt off, it's the best decision I've ever made.
I see my spark back, and I am so glad that I went with Sonobello because they have truly changed my life.
With over 50,000 five-star reviews, Sonobello is America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. I love wearing a bikini again and not having to cover up. See what's possible for you. Schedule your free consultation today. I got my summer body at Sonobello. Get your summer body back. Do this for you. And our flexible payment options make it easy to get started today. Call now or go to sonobello.com for your free personalized consultation. It's your life. Live it beautifully.
Do you suffer in pain? Are you stiff, tense, or less active? Introducing the EasyWell Remedy Massage System, a triple fusion of therapeutic experiences. Full body vibrational therapy increases blood circulation and reduces inflammation. Infrared heat penetrates deep to reduce pain, soothe, and relax. The Ultra Shiatsu pillow with 6 heated nodes mimics a professional massage. Plus, it's detachable for deep relief anywhere you need it. Experience the true remedy for your pain and stiffness. Call now.
Look, if you're an executive, this shirt is a must-have in your closet. I was tired of floppy collars and shirts with sweat stains, so I got this shirt I saw on TV, and now I don't have to worry. I got it shipped in no time, and I switched from regular polos to this immediately. The brand is called Collars & Co. They make a regular stretchy golf shirt, but the top has a firm collar on it. I got rid of so many problems by upgrading to this. No dry cleaning needed anymore. I'm free from uncomfortable long sleeves, and the collars stay stiff all day. Get 20% off today using code TV at collarsandco.com.
All right, live pictures, a once great city on the screen there. Los Angeles Basin from the Hollywood sign, a city that is screaming to be saved. Finnerty's up next. We've got special election coverage after his show starting tonight at 10 o'clock. Spencer Pratt.
Spencer Pratt. I mean, you know, he said yesterday he could get over 50%.
That's the dream, right? To take it out in the primary. It's going to take a miracle. But
if
you
he
wonder
does,
if there's enough of a groundswell. You know?
Yeah, and it's so funny because there's, 5 million more registered Democrats in California. It's an uphill battle for Spencer Pratt and Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco, I guess, to a lesser extent. Yeah. But it could happen, and it could happen. I don't know if we're going to get results tonight because they can't count votes.
No, they got to count until the Democrat wins. Don't you know that?
All right, we're going to get it started for you. Rob, good to see you. We'll do it again tomorrow. Finity starts right now.
We're celebrating Pride Month in the gayest city in the world.
I would never want to put our family through that.
Why are you shaking? Why are you getting so angry?
Because drone is going, I'm holding everything back not to break your jaw.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.